So, Google had a keynote at the GDC event, and they have announced their service, Google Stadia. It is not a box.
No.
There is no box. There is a controller. There is no box.
There is no box, which I'm not too surprised. Everyone was saying box. And it's like, considering what the Assassin's Creed beta was...
They've already got a box. It's called the Chromecast.
Yeah. It's probably...
Because that's the thing. The whole point... Okay, so this is the big thing. It is a streaming service which allows you to play the video games that are on the service across any device at any time.
That are compatible with...
With Google... They're compatible with Google Chrome.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
It doesn't... Like, and that's the thing is, like, the qualifier doesn't even need to be there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, anything that's compatible with it. If it's compatible with Google Chrome, this... can run Google Chrome, therefore I can play Stadia games on it.
Yeah.
And they demonstrated it on stage, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
So that's the basis of it. As long as you've got Google Chrome on a thing and it can run Google Chrome steadily, then you can do this.
But does Google Chrome even run?
Yeah, and that's a whole other kettle of bullshit that we have to get into. It was one of those. It was a press conference circa 2007. Like, it was just... It reminded me of older E3 press conferences before Sony and Microsoft realized that, like, oh, gamers don't give a shit about numbers. They just want games. Like, it was all a lot of, like, we're in 500 million homes or 2 billion, and just, like, numbers.
To me, it's just a very tech industry because watching, CES... I watched The Verge has like the bits you need to know.
Yeah.
And it makes it a 10-minute video, which is fucking the best way to consume those CES conferences.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching that, they're still very numbers focused. Like, this is what, because that's what E3 was. It spun out of CES.
Yes.
Like, let's just copy it, but for video games, it's like, no, let's just make this a fucking hype machine.
Yeah, well, it used to be, and it is, it's a trade show. It's for industry insiders, so the numbers are what they're interested in. But with this particular one, it was very much like they're giving like this weird... Because it's also the Game Developers Conference is what GDC is, so it's mostly focused at developers. So
keynote was focused on developers. Like, hey, this thing's real easy. We've got all the fucking teraflops you want.
Yeah, well...
You want GPUs, you've got GPUs.
So
come here, develop for us. Jade Raymond's here. She's great, isn't she? Please come.
So many fucking teraflops. Just like... God, it was just one of those things, like, again, just... So Sony came out with the PS4 Pro and they were like, look at all of our power. And then Xbox was like, yeah, bro, hold my beer. And then Google came out this year and was just like, zip.
Teraflop,
motherfucker. You're like, Jesus. Like, okay. There is a combination of excitement and terror around this idea for me. Honestly...
What's the terror? Because I get the excitement. Unless it's just Google owning the world. If that's the
partly
terror, I get
that, but there's also like little bits in there. So one is like Google, like this is the closest thing. If this thing works as advertised, and it can, and reports say from like the beta test last year that it does work extremely well. The questions still stand on what the actual internet connection needed, because
what is minimum?
Because the lowest I heard was like, oh, I'm working on a crappy 40 megabit connection, and I'm like, 40 megabits is like, that's the high end of Australian internet, like.
Can we get 100? Like, I know it's advertised, but can we get 100?
You can physically get 100. It is physically possible at like midnight when no one else is using it. That's the high end of Australian internet. So like the average Australian internet's more like around 10 or 12.
Yeah, 10 and 40. Like depending on if you've got NBN or cable, you get 40. If you still on ADSL2, it's 10.
Yeah, and like even mine flits, like I've got fiber optic and mine flits between 30 and 40. So like I could feasibly maybe do this. But if it is a system that allows games to be played on any device that can run Google Chrome, which is crazy because it also means that this could run on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Because they have a Chrome app and you can just download that and use that instead. It completely removes the need for the console manufacturers.
That's the revelation I had. Like, you don't... Like, you watching a YouTube Let's Play, you click the button that says thing, it takes you to the store, or if it's subscription or whatever that service is, which I don't think we'll find out till summer.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, no longer having to buy a $500 machine. It's like,
Yeah.
because you've got multiple $500 plus machines,
Yep.
you don't need to have a dedicated one. I'm like, huh.
Yeah,
and it works like
those,
YouTube.
and that's not the thing that scares me, because like, well, there's console manufacturers, like, they'll figure something out. They'll still be existing. Sony will exist. Microsoft will exist. Nintendo will exist in some fashion.
Nintendo is the
thing that
least
scares
affected
me-
by this.
The thing that scares me is that it is the closest thing or the first step towards something in the world being a global monopoly. Where literally no one can get away from Google as being the one company that supplies you video games.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Because like at that point then, and here's the other like there are so many different aspects of this. It completely removes ownership.
Yeah.
Let's say you buy that game.
Yeah.
Like we don't know what the service structure is yet, whether it's a subscription, whether it's purchasing.
Or both.
Or both. And again, the Australia tax comes into this for us specifically. Like, the more I kept seeing it, the more I was like, this thing is a fucking cool idea, but in Australia, it is the worst possible outcome for us as gamers.
Yeah.
Because, like, A, we don't know if our internet is up to scratch to even cope with this thing. And then B, we get caught with the Australia tax all the time. Like, if it's just digital streaming, just a purchase to stream that digital license, I guarantee you the games will cost more on that service than they do in real life. Because that's what happens in music already. The Apple iTunes Store, it costs more to download an album than it does to purchase the physical CD.
Is that why games digitally are more expensive?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was because PSN and all that was sticking to the recommended retail prices instead of JB, which can just compete with Amazon and go down to $69.
No, well that's part of it, but also the thing is that like for a while there, it was like a single song on the iTunes Store in America is 99 cents to download.
Yeah.
Taken into take conversion rate into account and like do all your exchange rate bullshit. The same song in Australia cost $1.79 American for no discernible reason. And that's what scares me there.
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, okay, so this thing's going to cost $60 American, and we're already paying an Australia tax on games. We're already paying $10 to $20 more than we have to.
Yeah.
Just for reasons.
Yeah.
And then with it being completely digital, they then have the reins to charge whatever the fuck they want, because what else are you going to do? And that scares me. It scares me again as well of like what games can be designed in this space, and where does this lead? Does this lead, because they talked about, like a lot of the presentation was talking about like the possibility space and all that kind of stuff, and I've seen it time and time and time again in the games industry. The possibility space isn't as wide as you think it is, because as soon as something popular happens, it all turns into that. And so when the thing on Stadia becomes the thing that everyone wants to make, because it's like, oh, this dude made a 1,000-player multiplayer squad-based MMO RPG loot shooter. I don't know, fucking flight simulator.
Sold.
They will. They will then.
Sorry. I'm just thinking of all the mechanics. Oh god,
it's too much. The industry will move to making that, and when you come to when you come to a situation where it is no longer beneficial for the developer to make anything outside of the norm, then you end up with homogenized games, is my fear, because the thing that the Google presentation sort of left me with was this idea of like this amazing fucking idea where if someone has a video game they want to share with you, they just copy and paste the link and they can tweet it to you or send it to you or do whatever, and you just click on that link, it opens it in Chrome, and boom, you're playing the game. That's insane. But also it means that game developers and publishers are incentivized to play and make games that are easily shareable in that way, that create moments that allow people to go, yeah, I want to share that, oh, I want to give you that. It creates a series of games, and we saw this, we've been seeing it for a while thanks to YouTube already.
And Twitch. That's what I was going to point out,
Yeah, that games being designed specifically for the streaming market are dominating the space. Games like Fortnite are dominating the space, and it is creating an homogenized game, and when God of War came out last year, and everyone and we had the same sort of news cycle where like EA was like, "Oh, single player games are dead." God of War made me heartened of like, no, they're not. They're still alive and they can still be made well.
Yeah.
This puts another nail in that coffin that I really worry about.
Yeah.
Because are single player games going to be worth it anymore?
It depends, because I think like people watch they're not as popular, but people do watch single player streams of single player games. So you know what I meant by that. So games, hopefully one would hope, like hopefully Jade Raymond's team would hopefully do a single player game which doesn't need to focus on like multiplayer servers and stuff. It just makes, and like all the cloud stuff that like Crackdown promised, you just focus it in on all the hardware, all the extra GPUs you can use, all the
teraflops,
all 10.7 of them,
all the teraflops.
You can like use that and then like show something that's like God of War pretty, God of War inventive, and like Jade Raymond had that talent. Like she attracts that talent to her and can just do something
but
like that.
But that's the nuts thing too, is like 10.7 teraflops, that's just one instance.
Yeah, I don't really know what instances are.
So instances are what they're... So instances is the name of basically like the rack, like the single computer. Think of it like a desktop. Like the actual, it's just one of those.
Yeah.
Has 10.7 teraflops in whatever server things they have. And depending on your game, that what they're pitching is that the servers can move and change and allow you to access more instances depending on what your game needs. So in theory, if you need 5 instances, you can have up to 50 teraflops of processing power ready to go at your disposal.
Jesus Christ.
That's what that means. Yeah.
Which is, now that makes sense for the scalable content. Like, we want everything to run at 4K 60 HDR. I'm like, oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the instances make sense.
Yeah.
Huh. And my point with that was that, and then it's like, it will also be scalable to 8K content when that becomes available.
Yeah.
So, meaning they're future-proofing, which means hopefully we can get 20 years off this system before it has to be rebuilt again, like Google, like Internet Explorer was.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and again, there's a couple of things of like, Stadia seems like a great system, but who's it built for?
Built for people who don't want to buy a console. If it's subscription service.
Okay. Who are the people who don't want to buy a console?
People who don't have the money. If it's a cheap subscription service.
Okay. People who don't have the money.
The money to throw to a dedicated console for just games.
So people who don't have enough money to buy a dedicated console, but have enough money to live in an area where the internet connection is decent enough to actually make this work? Yeah. And this is the thing that's been bugging me since I finished watching the video this morning.
Yeah.
Is that this system is not for... It sounds like it's for the people who are poor and don't have the ability to play video games. We'll let everyone play video games. Yeah. But what it's really for is for the rich countries who have a middle class that's a little bit struggling that we can't get money out of right now. Yeah. It's for them. And that, again, is another thing that like really frustrates me, is that like, if you are in a country that doesn't have decent internet, or you are in a country that has decent internet, or could have decent internet like Australia, but you live in a rural area, so fuck you.
Yeah.
None of this is for you.
Yeah.
You can't do any of this. So like, my hope is that what that means is that the console will not actually die, because people who live in rural areas or areas that don't have decent internet will still need to buy a box to play their video games. Yeah. But it means that they're never going to have the experiences that are on there, and it's this weird thing where simultaneously Stadia is a thing that purports to open the gates on creativity and experience, yet closes them off as well to a certain subsect of the planet. Only allows these people to do it.
I think to that, one, this is not... A lot of people are complaining about what you just said in terms of like, people with poor internet can't play this. People will not continuously have poor internet forever. They will finally reach that minimum of whatever it is in 10 years. And like the Google Stadia will still be a thing that exists in perpetuity, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, this is a future thing. This is an investment.
No, that's the future thing. Is like you've got a very optimistic outlook on the world.
In terms of,
I don't.
I see this as like a YouTube, as the Google search function, as Google Chrome. It's,
yeah.
I think that's how Google sees it as well. Like this is YouTube wasn't a fully functional thing from the get-go.
No, and I agree with you. And that's fair, because, like, again, I think the Stadia is going to probably be a little bit more... They're pitching it as a certain thing, and I feel like it's going to be way more buggy when it launches. Because they did a beta test, and it's like, yeah, that's a beta, but...
And it was one game.
Yeah, when you've got 50 million... Like, the thing that kept going through my head is, like, when you've got, like, 500 million playing this across, like, 10,000 different games, what's going to happen there? Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that they've got an idea and a contingency plan, but...
It seems like
It's more just like there are still people, like there are still internet capability aside. The other issue that there are people like Nathaniel's parents.
Yeah.
Have decent internet connection. It works, but they pay out the arse for it, and also it's nowhere near as much as we get.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm looking at Stadia and going, man, I got a 600 gig plan. I don't know if that would be enough.
No. If you're streaming 4K, which that's what was the stat I heard? 14 gigs an hour?
Yeah. So when you're sitting there and you're actually looking at it and you're thinking, well, like, oh, wow, I can play on my phone that has 5 gig a month. And if I go over that...
Yeah.
You know, like, well, mine has like 25.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean, yeah.
There
limited.
are people out there that are on prepaid phones and things like that can't do that. And it just continues to make the actual user base for this smaller and smaller and smaller. Because data caps, not only have they been a problem in Australia for years, they are becoming a problem in the US.
Yeah.
They are becoming a problem in other parts of the world. And just because Google comes in and is like, we're going to make a streaming service for everyone that they can use, doesn't mean that the internet service providers are suddenly going to be like, oh, that's a great idea. Here, an unlimited bandwidth like it should be. They're never going to do that.
I feel like in Australia, at least, I've seen way more companies and finally even Telstra do unlimited plans.
Yeah, but the unlimited plans for those aren't actually unlimited.
For Telstra?
No, just in general, because like they're unlimited. But whenever
you reach the cap, it slows down.
No. Whenever unlimited is advertised, it is usually on a different service network. So generally speaking, most of the time when you see unlimited, you will have a slower speed than everyone else. If you do like what I've done, where I've got like 600 gig cap, I get faster speeds than someone in my same area who has an unlimited plan.
Okay.
So I get better speeds for having a cap. They get unlimited cap, slower speeds.
Okay.
That's generally what the trade-off is there.
Yeah.
It used to be because unlimited would be like on the ADSL 1 network, and limited would be on ADSL 2. So ADSL 1 is being shared by everyone else who has unlimited, so when multiple people hit the server, it all slows down.
Yeah.
Similar sort of idea. When multiple people are using it, they slow down the bandwidth because they don't want you using too much and you using too much. They slow you down and cap you around. And that's a bad thing. Like, why the fuck would you want that?
Yeah.
And then the other end of it is like, well, yeah, there's plans for like a terabyte of usage, but like as games, like this is the thing, like 50 teraflops of power, that's a fucking huge game. That was going to be a huge game no matter what. And if I'm streaming that motherfucker, like that's going to chew through a terabyte of internet in no time at all.
Yeah.
And then you're paying either extra on top of that for extra data packets over there, or you're just getting slowed down to dial-up speed. Because that's still the accepted way to do things.
Yeah.
Is to slow you down to dial-up speed.
Yeah.
Stadia is weird, man. Because again, the technology on this thing is cool.
Yeah.
I love the idea of it.
Yeah.
I think it's fucking incredible. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Microsoft does in response, because they have xCloud. They've been talking about that for
They
a
have
while.
Project Azure, like, which is, I think, up and running in Microsoft. Like, they're starting to use that. Like, I see ads for it all the time. I'm like, I don't understand what this is outside of computing video games.
Yes.
What is Azure?
I think it
Military
is
strike. That's all I know.
Yeah.
That's all I know. But,
I think it is just this.
yeah.
I think this is what they're trying to lead towards. Now, I'm just wondering whether or not Sony is going to continue, whether they're going to go down the same path.
That's
or
the
going a different
company I'm most interested in, because, like, Sony, everything is, you need the PS4 to run stuff, and then it just pings around, and then eventually you can play your Vita somewhere.
Yeah.
And now your phone. That's right. Oh yeah, we didn't actually talk about that. Remote play for iOS. But yes, we did talk. Anyway, point is, Sony could be like, hey, everyone's doing their own thing. We'll just make remote play better. We'll focus on that, which is very possible.
And they could just turn themselves into the niche market.
Yeah.
Because there are still people out there who, regardless of how much you can stream in 4K, like having a Blu-ray.
Exactly. Like,
and so they could just turn themselves into that. And that's not like.
And Sony already does that. Like, Sony has dedicated
big.
Music players. They have their dedicated theater systems. They have, like, people.
Sony makes everything under the sun.
Yeah. Whether it's good at it or not is.
Sony's pretty decent across the board.
Yeah.
Like, pretty decent quality. Whether it's amazing is up for debate, but, like, pretty much everything that if you buy something with Sony's name on it, you're pretty much guaranteed it's going to work at least.
Yeah.
It'll get the job done. May not be the prettiest
effectively.
Yeah.
The thing was, like, consoles are going to go away and all this. Like, I don't think that. The fact that vinyl came back, the fact that books still haven't died, the fact that Blu-rays are still being printed is the fact that, like, physical media won't go away. It'll become niche, or, like, different. It'll have market. What's the word? Fluctuations. Vinyl is the big example of that. It fluctuated to dead for 20, 30 years and then came back. And now it's when you go into a JB, it's there. Alternative people like options. 4K, the streaming thing is going to be like YouTube. YouTube has its own encoding things and has its own. The video never looks as good as it does as when the person originally records it, because that's a 15 plus gig file and they've converted it down to fuck all. It's going to be the same thing. The disc, or even the proper download file, is going to be different to the streaming version, because it's going to be compressed as all hell. And if you want to get up on that 4K and, like, look at the pixel, it's going to be different than if you have the download or the disc. Like, it's just, that's just how it's going to work. And then the systems themselves also different for audio files. Like, yes, they have, it's going to have surround sound, but, like, streaming, that's why even Netflix can't be as good as a Blu-ray, a 4K Blu-ray. Like, there's just all these other little things that streaming just can't
there's so
do.
there's so much that we still don't know as
Dedicated hardware will always be a thing. There'll probably be less of them. There's already less of them.
There's 80 million PS4s.
I mean, less options than it was in the 90s.
Yeah, that's fair. The other thing that was interesting / scary was their content creator stuff.
That was odd. Yeah, I didn't quite grasp what they were going for there in terms.
It basically amounts to, like, all the consoles right now have a share button. Or a button that you can hit to either take a screenshot or record a video, and then you can upload that to Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Google, because they own YouTube, just gets to go, hey, you want to put that directly onto YouTube and then start making stuff? Which is great. Especially for
content creators already.
Exactly. But not just that, but, like, for those who can't afford to buy a capture card or a blah 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 or a blah blah blah. That stuff is suddenly, like, accessible. You can just capture away and get it sent straight onto YouTube. The scary thing is, and the thing that, like, they had Matt Pat from Game Theory come out and talk about it, which was the fucking cringiest part of the whole presentation.
I don't think it was that bad.
Because those people don't know how to act in real life. So he's just YouTubing.
He had a very different energy to all the execs that were there. I'm like, fine, they got you for a reason.
No, he's come out on the stage and he is just YouTubing in their face. And they're all like, what the fuck are you doing, you crazy son of a... And the YouTube people just, for the most part, if you're YouTube famous, you don't quite know how to interact with people on a face-to-face level, so it's a little bit weird.
Because you can't edit.
He did this thing where he was just like, it's going to be great, because you'd all just create content. I'm like, I've always wondered when the bubble bursts on that. When does it finally reach the point where, because everyone's a creator, no one's a creator?
I think that's kind of the point of Stadia, is that going to the start of their thing, it's that ever since games were invented, sports of all kind, people have played, people have watched. I'm like, now I get why people watch games. It's just because it's just a different type of sports or game, or like chess, that kind of stuff. And then going to that, there'll always be the two or the three: the people who make the games, the people who watch the games, the people who play the games. And
funny thing was, when they were doing that part, when they were like, there are three. There are the people who make the games, the people who play the games, and I thought they were going to go to like, and the people who review the games. And I was like. No. There are three branches. You play, you watch, you create, and then if you talk about, you fucking suck. Like,
I think that's part of the play.
Yeah.
Play has its own
thing. I guess.
But, what's the point? Content. Yeah, Stadia is the plural of stadium.
Yes.
And, like, they're very clear in their things of, like, walking out of things into the light. Very much stadium-esque. So then you... Content creating, but then also...
Pokemon Sword and Shield on Stadia?
Honestly, I was thinking of Pokemon Sun and Moon. Not Sun.
Stadium.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. But, But anyway... their metaphor of just trying to get... Like, we're entering a new light. This is the new thing. was on board with that. And, like, people create and watch. And, like, yes, they're probably... I think it's less of a issue of there'll be a maximum critical mass of people who are just creating and not watching. Mm-hmm. Because creating does take effort. And for the most part, people don't like...
But that's the point. Stadia is trying to remove that effort.
Yeah.
Because all it is a fucking button on the controller.
Yeah. To be fair, that's all the PlayStation is. It's just a button. It's just not well polished, and it takes a little...
But it's not tied to the biggest money-making platform for that content.
You can put it on YouTube immediately.
You can, but it's just, like, again, it's not seamlessly the way that Google is pitching it.
Yeah.
Google is pitching it as you hit that button, you are streaming live on YouTube, you are good to go, and then when you finish that stream, it's just re-encoded on it is on your page. Like, it's all just one button. Like, that's the thing is that, like, yes, it takes effort, but Google is trying to remove that effort from the content creation.
Yeah.
Which is... Sure, whatever. It doesn't matter to Google. They could give a flying fuck either way. But I look at it and go like, well, when's the critical mass hit? Because it kind of almost already did, as YouTubers are now migrating to Twitch more often. Yeah. And then there'll be another one, and then we're right there.
That's the thing. Like, the critical mass is the amount of platforms we have. As long as there's like the fact that YouTube gaming is its own thing, while Twitch is its own thing, is just to me, that's too much. YouTube by itself, Twitch by itself, being a gaming-focused one, having games as an option on YouTube is fine. Even Mixer is like, oof. Like, I've heard Mixer's really good. Like, it actually does 1080p 60 properly.
Yes, it does. It does. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird thing. Like, Stadia, like I said, as I've been looking at it and watching it and all that kind of stuff, it's equal parts amazing and terrifying. Yeah. Of just like, what is happening? And what does... If this works, what does... Like you said, maybe not next year, but what does 2025, 2030 look like in video games if Stadia works? Yeah. Because, like I said, my concern is that Google becomes the only place for games, and then what? Like, then what?
The market will react, and then it'll probably implode.
Will it?
Maybe not in 2030, but, like, we will reach this point, I think, of, like, either whether, shit will collapse, and then build back.
Because I just like the thing that I just keep looking. You keep looking at Google and the way that company, and just like any of the like top 5 scary companies that there are, like the way everything keeps moving. Like, there's a point where everyone's like, well, the market will react. I'm like, the market hasn't reacted in a decade. Google's been the number one like search engine for a decade. No one can figure it out other than them. What is the market going to react to? What the fuck? Like, is the market dead? Is that what happened? Because it has no reflexes anymore because Google just won. Like, it can't react when there's no nervous system. There's nothing there. If the market doesn't react to Google and they just own everything, then what happens after that?
Utopia. Or dystopia.
I hate this so much.
Yeah.
Because, like, as I said, it is the first step I've seen towards a global monopoly of a single type of of market.
Yeah.
Like video games specific. Like if you want to get down to
Yeah.
entertainment, down into like video games specifically, there is the potential here that if Stadia works correctly, Google will just own video games. Full stop. And it's like that's. We always thought about it through the console wars.
Yeah.
As like, oh, which one will win? But like the point of the console wars is that like because there are more than one, they compete and therefore make each other stronger.
Yeah.
If Google's creating this thing and they just blow everyone out of the water, that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Then you can play all your games through Google from now on for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
The thing that is not the wild card, the biggest opponent is Microsoft. Like next generation could be a Google Microsoft war, not a Microsoft Sony war. Like that's like today we witnessed the birth of a new first party studio.
Yes, we
A
did.
new first party company like that's
Yeah, because
not since the Ouya have we seen that. No.
Oh, the heady days of the Ouya.
Which is this is just Ouya 2. Ouya. Fuck, I hate that I said that.
Ouya. Yes.
Oof.
Yes. Ouya. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Yeah. Yes, but they did announce they have a first party development studio.
Yeah.
And possibly studios.
It seems like
Stadia?
they've got the game, but then what Santa Monica was, or Sony Santa Monica was, in terms of like they make their own game, but they also help out a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
It's like that's what what's it called? Stadia Games and Entertainment. It should have
Yes.
been called Stadia Game, but
Stadia games. Well, the thing
entertainment
is,
VR experiences. That's what. That
not
covers.
just that, but they will. Google will
make movies.
Yes, like Google will try as much as they can to step on Netflix toes now.
Maybe.
Because if you think if Stadia works for video games, it will sure as fuck work for streaming devices.
Oh yeah.
For like just general movies.
Here's the thing, though. Google actually having a product, because what you were saying before about just boom removing the barriers of entry to uploading content to YouTube is because YouTube doesn't make content. There's YouTube Red or Original, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
That's just more people uploading shit for itself. It's not like Netflix, where Netflix funds shit to put onto itself. It just lets everyone else create content, and this is just making more people
Google
make content.
pays the YouTube Red people for their content.
They just pay it. They don't get involved or anything.
Yeah.
They might like
No. What I'm saying is that like the original Netflix format, where it's just like I'm going to buy all this intellectual property and just stick it on a streaming service. Google could do that.
Yeah.
You think Google couldn't outspend Netflix?
Yeah, no. My point with that is that this is interesting. Now Google is making content with their games.
True.
Like YouTube does not do that. Like Google Play Store doesn't do that. They put their own couple of services on there.
Yeah.
Like the Google Chrome is just so you can cast content everywhere.
Yeah. It is fascinating that Google has decided that the video game space is where they want to head next. And like the thing
they've been thinking about this for since 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I know, but like again, still like out of all of the industries to try and stamp your flag on this whole thing, gaming is the way you'd go, because it always seemed like gaming was the niche market. So it must be making. Basically, what I'm saying is that video games must have made it so far enough into the mainstream that Google sees it as a profitable endeavor, but B, also something they can invest in the future and continue to make profitable.
Also, I think Google is still full of passionate and young tech people who are like, hey, this is a fucking cool thing to push our limits on. Like,
well, the other thing again with it is that. And again, this is all amazing and terrifying.
Yeah.
This feels like a starting point.
Yeah,
this
definitely.
does not feel like. No, but I don't just mean like Stadia like 1.0. I mean, this seems like a starting point for more than just games and more than just what they've got now. I don't know what they're doing, but the opening keynote guy, the CEO or whatever of Google.
Yeah. I don't know.
The guy who came out and doesn't play video games and made a couple of jokes that were like, hey, you know what?
At least he's honest, yeah.
Yeah, that'll play with people who also don't play video games, so good on you, mate.
Yeah.
But he kind of placed an emphasis on how like video games have, for a long time now, been the industry that makes the advancements in home entertainment technology that then everyone else adopts later on.
And porn.
Yes.
That's always been like since Betamax versus VHS.
It's like porn usually just picks the winner.
You're right.
Because it's like, it's Betamax or VHS, they pick the winner on those ones. But the video game space actually develops the different technologies to actually use them.
Porn on the NES.
Yeah, because like the video game space developed virtual reality and then porn picked it up and used it.
You're
So
right.
it's kind of that weird. There's a symbiotic relationship between video games and porn. And there has been for decades.
Yes.
Going right back to the first E3s.
Yes. I know CES and...
Yes, CES was like the original CESs had like porn and video games
Yeah.
in the same car park hub area.
I think this was the first year where they weren't on the same weekend or whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, this feels like them saying this video game technology can be used for more than... Because the thing of like... Man, the more and more I sit here and think about it, like Stadia sounds like the perfect Skynet for the real world.
Fuck, you're right, yeah.
Like it's exactly like... Because they're talking about machine learning, and that was another thing.
Yeah, that was like, I don't like when people say that, but it's what we're doing and it's what we're building towards, but we've all seen Terminator.
Yeah, like, why do we keep doing this?
Yeah.
Like, the funny thing is that in the Terminator movies, they all say the same thing about, like, we saw the movies and we knew what was, like, everyone kept telling us this was a problem, but we kept doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And, like, we have the movies that tell us then the movies that the movies were telling us everything was right. And we're still like, duh!
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is the future. But the thing that, like they were doing the machine learning like with the artistic styles and stuff like that, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
That seemed really weird because like, you can just slap on anything and like, only like 2 of these look good. Like the first one they showed, I'm like, oof, this just looks like...
Well, I think that's the point. I think the point is that like you create the base framework of what you want to create, and then you say to yourself, I kind of want it in this art style, and you find an example of that, drag it into the system, and then it just kind of overlays it all and tells you like, this is an idea of what this art style that you're thinking of looks against this thing.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of look at it and go, nah, and move to the next one.
Yeah.
Or actually, my hope there is that like it's not, we're getting the machine to just do all of it. It's that you do an overlay and an actual artist comes in to finish off and tweak it.
Probably.
But I just don't want...
There was an article, I think, on GameIndustry.biz that's like, video games will start making themselves. And I'm like... And then watching that keynote today, I'm like, oh, this is how this starts.
Yes, this is how this starts. And that's the thing is like Stadia feels like not just a gaming thing. This feels like... Because like the processing power that's being used, the amount of processors and like server racks they have across the world, what is happening here, this feels like the first step to Google trying to automate everything. Because if video games can run at 8K 60 frames a second on this server and you can get it through an internet connection that's less than 40 megabits anywhere in the world, that means that you can literally run anything through that server. You can tell a robot to do anything you wanted.
Yeah.
You can literally automate any currently manual job can be automated using this system. So that's the bit that's even more terrifying. Is that, like that's the look into the future. This whole thing.
Yeah.
For games, it just means that like Sony and Microsoft better come up with something. They better come up with not only a console that is affordable, but also a console that is going to give... Like, they need to come up with exclusives.
Yeah.
They need things that Stadia doesn't have.
Yeah. Which is going to be hard because, what did they say? Like, in 3 weeks, we built something that... we built Crackdown 3, and when it took Crackdown 3 7 years to make. Like, that video of just like, you can multiplayer, and everything breaks down, and you're also flying around. I'm like, that's Crackdown 3. They made, and then they said this took 3 weeks to make.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
There's also a different polish, and that's just very gameplay.
Yeah, but also how much of that is just bullshit. Like it might have taken maybe it took them 3 weeks to piece it all together, but
it's very rudimentary.
Was the art concepting like 6 months?
I think
was the actual like the actual people sitting there designing the idea of what they were doing?
Yeah.
It took a couple of months before that, pre-pro, all that kind of stuff. Like 3 weeks slapping together. Like sure, but what does that 3 weeks actually entail? Like,
it's probably exactly what they showed. Like, there's not an immersive, fully world. Like
I'll bet you it's one of those demos that they show at E3 a lot of the time, where it's like, if you turn left too far here, the whole game crashes in on itself and destroys. Like 3 weeks is not like who cares?
Yeah,
anyone can slap together anything in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What you need to show us is what you can do with a decent amount of time and budget.
Yeah, which is interesting. I don't think the Google Stadia will be this fun little thing that like, cool, I can play Assassin's Creed the next one wherever I want. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just use Google. Like, I'm at I'm at the train station and I'm just bored, so I'm
Yeah.
just going to fucking play some Assassin's Creed,
Has
grind out
been-
some
yeah.
stuff. And then it's not until the first party, Jade Raymond's team, puts out a game that people start taking interest, or people
Yeah.
start exclusively developing for it. Like,
Yeah.
if
And it's really weird to see, like, end of last year we had the Epic Store come out and everyone was like, ooh, competitor to Steam. And I'm looking at this thing going, fucking Steam's dead.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Yeah.
Like, after this, if this thing comes out and works the way it does, both Epic and Steam can kiss their stores goodbye because there's
Unless
no
they-
reason to have it.
yeah, I'm going to say unless they start doing streaming, it's like, they can't do streaming like that. It took Google 7 years to finally announce this idea that's been like percolating forever.
Yeah, yeah.
They finally accrued the right team.
What Epic needs to, like, that's the thing is that, like, Epic survives by saying, like, no, Fortnite is not on Stadia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Valve survives by trying to make games again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, it's super fucked up.
Yeah.
But, and this was the thing that I was going to say about the PS Now stuff, not coming to Australia.
No, not yet.
Fucking, like, it doesn't matter. All this shit doesn't matter because it's not coming here.
Yeah.
We ain't fucking going to see it.
Again, not yet. We're not. I don't know.
I don't know if we'll ever see it.
We will see it. We're 22 million people.
25 million.
Oh, we increased. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're pretty sure we've been at 25 for a little bit. But also, until the government decides that they want to actually give us decent internet,
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
If it's my idea of this is that this has always been YouTube. I can watch YouTube in 1080p proper, nice, as long as I'm not downloading something on my PlayStation.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, like the bandwidth it takes to do just a video is totally different.
I know that. That's what I'm going for, and that like the encoding would be that it would maybe work on ADSL. Maybe ADSL too low. NBN. Like I was watching 4K video at uni the other day. It was fine. If that's what you need to run, like 1080p 60 on Chrome, that's fine. Like that's.
But again, it's the bandwidth, it's the data caps, it's all the stuff that
data cap's probably the biggest one. If you want to do
the actual like logistics of what the Australian internet like service providers over the last number of years have done to the Australian internet, like what they have strategically done and turned this country into because of it, it would literally take some sort of commission to be like, and all ISPs are told to stop their bullshit, and all contracts are null and void, and you do it properly now.
Yeah.
Like, it would take that kind of move, because we're not going to get them to gradually do it, because if they gradually change, they'll just gradually, very slowly change and milk you for every dollar before they do it. And this thing just doesn't work without current infrastructure. So we'll see how it goes. Launching this year.
Yeah, this will be in the fall, I guess.
Yeah, I guess in run up to holiday.
Yeah.
Sell a bunch of Chromecasts on the back of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
now announce release date at E3.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing they said. Oh, some are, so they'll probably come to E3. I'm assuming that they're going to take one of the slots at E3.
If they take Sony's slot, that's going to be the biggest fucking power move of all time.
Well, it's not really, because Sony just gave it up.
I know, but like you were talking about early, when Sony announced they were gone, if Google wants to come back next year, who the fuck gets that position then? And then, like, it's just this thing of, like, is Google going to be a mainstay at E3? Or are they going to be like EA and just be there?
Google announced this year, and it launches. And then what does Google bring to the table next year?
Jade Raymond project, maybe.
Do you think that's ready to go by then?
Maybe.
But that's it. They've got a game. And they'll have a bunch of game announcements. This time next year, Sony has a brand new console ready to go.
Yeah.
ESA is going to give that back to Sony.
Yeah, from that perspective.
Yeah. Here, announce your new console on our stage.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong on my prediction, I think they'll announce it in October this year.
The PS5. I think they're going to do exactly what they did with the PS4. February event in New York. Calm everyone. PS5.
I think they're going to do. I think they're copying the Pro VR announcement, which was in October.
That released in October, though.
They announced it in October as well.
What?
They announced it in October of the previous year.
Was there really a year between...
The VR was. The VR was announced, and they were like, we're doing this thing. And then...
We didn't find out more about it until GDC.
Yeah. It was a November launch, but they did the press conference in October for the Pro. The Pro was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think they'll do the same. I think they'll do an October event.
Why? Like,
Build
October's
hype.
when all the games come out. That's not when you want to announce
Because
it.
what games do they have coming exclusively to their platform in the back end of the year?
They never have anything exclusively in the back end of the year.
Yeah, they do occasionally.
Really? Last Guardian.
Yeah,
Like, that's not anything.
but they don't have anything. They don't have anything. Like, there's no reason for them to not do it. It doesn't matter when they announce, to be perfectly honest. But I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just think like, well, I think waiting till February just means that there's like that's a lot of dead space
Yeah.
between the last time they talked publicly and the next announcement. That's a lot of dead space. And I don't think Sony wants to be putting everyone in that position because they didn't have a PSX.
Yeah.
And they're not coming to E3. So that's like 18 months of just no word from Sony.
They're still having word, but no big word. No
word. That's no
still,
word.
They're still putting out games. They're still putting out
Yeah, they're
Days
putting out-
Gone. They're putting out Ghost of Tsushima. What?
I'm going to keep doing this until
Yeah,
you
like Days Gone, I
admit
get-
that Days Gone is not a game.
It's a game. People played it and it's like, oh yeah, it's actually really good. You not see all the previews for it.
No, the previews I've seen have been like, this is trash and boring.
The ones that just came out recently.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Ones
You
I
guys
was reading
very
were like-
different
Yeah, we do.
previews.
I just don't. No, it just like. Yeah, they're putting out games, but the thing that keeps the hype train moving is not putting out the games. The thing that keeps the hype train moving and the thing that keeps people in your consciousness is announcing stuff.
Yeah.
You need to announce stuff for people to keep you in their mind.
I wouldn't be surprised. PSX comes back this year. We meet in the middle ground between February and October.
And you get
They announce in December.
Yeah, I
It'll
can
be
see that.
Christmas time. That's after the games come out. So,
Yeah.
hey, PSX is
I
this
just
year.
don't, the thing is, I just don't see a video game in the back end of the year that Sony would be worried about losing sales on.
It's not.
Because they're all multi.
I'm not even thinking about that. It's just the news cycle's already been taken out by reviews and all this. But then to announce a console in the middle of a fucking review, GTA, Rockstar's the only one who does this. They just announce stuff in October while fucking Call of Duties are coming out
But
left
the
and
thing
right.
is, like, so what's coming out that Sony that would deter Sony from making an announcement in October?
It's not necessarily it's just the games. It's the fall that always just happens, and then to be
But what is it this year?
we don't know yet. E3 hasn't happened. We usually don't find out this shit till E3.
No, but we do. We usually know something is coming out in the back end.
Vaguely, it'll be like Star Wars and Call of Duty and
See, that's the thing is I'm looking at the back end of the year and the stuff where it's like, oh, these things have yet to be announced. And I'm like, Call of Duty, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Like, they don't, like, the Call of Duty reviews and news cycle doesn't
it's
doesn't
not-
get affected by Sony. And Sony doesn't affect them. So that doesn't matter. Like, that's no. The Star Wars game, do you think Sony cares? The only game that I'm looking at the back end of the year that might have traction as to like the big release that's going to probably generate a lot of headlines will be the Pokemon game.
Yeah.
But because Nintendo lives in its own little bubble outside of the console war, Sony doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I just don't see a world where Microsoft might announce their stuff at E3 and Sony remains radio silent for 8 months.
Okay, yes.
Because that puts them on the back foot.
Putting Microsoft into this, yes, no, that's a good point. If they are announcing new consoles soon, that'll just be the new iteration of the discourse and stuff. If they go and say, hey, if they do what they did with Scorpio and say, hey, this is Project Scarlet, that's what it's called. I'm like, I was going to name something bullshit, no, it has an actual name. This is Project Scarlet. This is what it is, coming out next year. We'll look forward to our E3 presentation next year. Please be excited. That, yes, if they do that, which they fucking probably will at this point, they have E3 to themselves.
And that's exactly what happened the year the Pro came out, though. Because Microsoft announced the Scorpio, and then it was all silent. And then that year, Sony was like, oh, by the way, here's the Pro.
Which is not as powerful as...
Doesn't matter, it's out now.
Yeah. Ooh, good point, yeah.
Like, doesn't matter, it's not powerful. It's 1.8 teraflops less power, but you can have it now.
Yeah.
Right now, right this second, well, in 6 weeks, you can have it for this holiday. You do not need to wait another 12 months for Xbox's more powerful. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
And they could do the same thing again. Microsoft could announce and be like, next year we're announcing a console. And if Sony plays their cards right, they announce in October and go, this thing's out in November.
I don't think that's going to happen for a new console generation. The last time that happened was to the Saturn, and that killed them.
Sony has the leverage here, though. Look, I'm not saying it's smart. I'm actually saying it's stupid.
Okay.
Because it's Sony. And I just get the feeling, like, more and more over the last couple of months, that Sony is turning back into the Sony of the PS3 era. Because they're back on top. So they're going to make a stupid mistake.
They are going to make a stupid mistake. I don't think PS3 was just fucked, and they kept fucking themselves over and over again. There are going to be fuck up, but I don't think it'll be bad as Microsoft's, and I don't think it'll be PS3. It'll be more like, I don't know. I think just more PS1 and PS2, because PS1 they were on top. PS2 they just fucking destroyed everything.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening.
It'd be more of that transition.
Unless they, because like in this day and age, it's not just about like whether the games are good. It's about how you handle the narrative going into it.
Yeah,
and I just
obviously
think
don't know the narrative in the '90s going into. But
also like the way the world is in general, the narrative is the biggest part of the build up.
Yeah,
like, with social media and everything it is. You need to be controlling the internet talk. And I just think if Microsoft announces their new consoles this E3. And Sony does nothing, they will immediately be on the back foot, because that's how they lost in the PS3 stuff, was that the 360 announced and launched a year early.
Yeah,
and they just got left in the dust. But the other side of the equation is that one of the best things that ever happened to Sony during the PS4 launch stuff was that Microsoft did that E3 press conference where they were talking about the always online and the bits and bobs.
That was their own. That was the reveal event where they did.
They did their reveal event, but then they had their E3. Their E3 press conference is always before Sony's. Yeah, and Sony was able to create a small presentation that point for point counted Xbox. Was like, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. You can just share your games by handing discs over. No always internet. Like just bam, 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 bam. And they could do that because they were able to see what Microsoft was doing and just take on the vitriol that the community was giving them and just turn it against Microsoft. Yeah. They have the chance to do the same thing again. They don't have an E3 press conference, so they can just wait for Microsoft's announcement, see what it is, wait a couple of months, and basically do a counterpoint. And it's all within their control. Yeah. Again, not saying it's absolutely going to happen. I just
have a feeling.
I have a feeling it's going to be in the back end of this year. October seems like the smartest place because it's when they've done the last two. So yeah, it's when they did Pro, they did it in October. Yeah. And no one was like, "No, it's
just an update." Like that's
but it was a fairly big update, and it's a good seller. Yeah. 1 in 5 consoles that were sold like that year were a Pro. Huh. So it's not like it's a small chunk of their market. Like it's it did well.
We'll see. It is all very, very interesting. 2019 just as weird filler arc.
It's a filler arc.
It was just like, we need to get to the Patafa shit before we get to the Black Chunks, Black Goku shit. Yes. Goku Black. We just need to get through this shit to fucking just see what these companies are doing. Because I honestly think...
Because right now it's up in the air.
Yeah, Microsoft needs... This E3, Microsoft needs to come out, like, they can do what Sony did to them, like to Google. Like, hey... don't have the backbone, but we're building it. It's going to be fucking awesome. Crackdown 4 will work as Crackdown 3 intended. Halo Infinite is going to be Crackdown 3 in terms of like using.
Oh God, I hope not. Fuck.
Not in terms of quality, but using Azure like
Master Chief suffered enough.
He has, but you know what I mean. Just using that going forward. Hey, and then also Scarlet. This is what. Yeah. They showed the box of Scarlet, didn't they? At the year before.
I don't think so.
I thought they did.
No, I think there's like fan-made computer renders of what it might look like.
Maybe I'm just thinking of the next year conference mashing in with the previous year. Yeah. They need streaming versus streaming, and unless Sony can go and sort their shit out with streaming, because they have Gaikai.
See, again, I just don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know if they're going to.
Well, see, that's $4 billion they just wasted.
Do you think they care?
I mean,
how much money they've made off the PS4. They don't need the Gaikai right now. It's probably just been sitting in their back pocket because they thought we might need to use this to bolster ourselves if the PS4 doesn't work out. Turned out it worked out fine.
Yeah. And also, in going into that generation, streaming cloud service was trying to be a thing. That's why we had OnLive. That's why we had... Was Ouya Cloud? No, that was just an Android device.
This is just an Android device.
Yeah, there was another thing. One other thing. And people, let's just try and get onto this. And they just bought Gaikai for $4 billion. You know what else was bought for $4 billion? Marvel. Star Wars. They make so much money. Sony could have made an
Marvel, yes. We'll see about... Well, Star Wars still makes a lot of money, but...
Yeah, $2 billion in one movie. That's half their money back.
It's true.
That's not even merch. That's just the box office.
God.
What's the other part? Sony has done nothing with Gaikai. PlayStation Now has fuck all subscribers. Apparently it's better since they added the download thing, because not only did they add the download, they actually improved the infrastructure.
Right.
So now is actually...
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you prove it a bit better. But the thing is, living in Australia, we're always going to get these things last.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting year.
Yes.
Like the weirdest year we've had in a long time. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So join us in the summer/winter, depending on where you are in the world, to see what the fuck happens at E3.
E3 is...
Even after all this, I'm still most interested to see what the fuck Bethesda does. Because now that they've confirmed... I need to see, what do you say about Fallout 76? What do they say?
Do they say? They will.
Do they even mention the words? Do they even come out of Pete Hines' mouth?
Can be interesting. But it's weird because we've got all this industry shaking shit, but then we've got still just normal publishing games.
I was kind of hoping to see what's his name, Andrew Wilson, was going to say about Anthem coming into this year, but he's decided to not say anything because he's smarter than that.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, please leave a like below, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave a comment below or email us at amalgamshow@gmail.com. Check out the Amalgam Show later this week. This will probably be in 2 parts, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
probably. All right, cool. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.